Previous viewers of this channel will know that I have enjoyed exploring how my 2005 Mercedes SLK 350 made a competent track car and a surprising candidate for the best all-around sports car. But then, my SLK suffered a horrible fate. So I began a new search for my new and improved best all-rounder, a car that could serve as fun track toy and suitably useful and comfortable daily driver. And that search led me to several options. Over the years since my track driving journey began, my needs have changed a little bit. I no longer have my Mercedes C450 AMG. That lease ended and I decided to turn that car in. It didn't get driven a lot and I couldn't justify the cost of keeping a car in the garage as much as it was. So faced with the loss of my SLK and deciding I wanted another track toy, I wanted that car to be a bit more of a multi-purpose car, a car that could be comfortable on the street and usable, as well as serve as a potent track machine that I could tune and do some things with as my driving skill grew. The first car I looked at was this one. It was tempting. I wanted to join the Porsche Club for years. Most of us track driving and car driving enthusiasts do. But there were a few detractions for this vehicle. First being that it only has 2 seats. And that doesn't really make it a useful car for everyday use if you want to put more than you and one other person in it. The other detraction for the Porsche Caymans is it's desirable. And that means even older versions of this car, the 987s that I was looking at, with decent miles and decent equipment and decent condition, those prices were getting up into a range that I no longer wanted to pay for a car that might face some wear and tear on the track and, God forbid, face the same fate that my SLK did. But if it does, I don't want to have tens of thousands of dollars in that car being lost in the track, or a car that gets beaten up with that kind of punishment. So the Porsche Cayman came off my list. So no to the Porsche Cayman. That was a tough day. I cried a tear or two as I scratched a red line through that car on my list. But ultimately it was the right choice, and that led me to thinking about what the next car on my short list might be. And that was this car. I really wanted one of these. I had joined the Mini Club years earlier, but I bought the wrong Mini. I bought a Clubman back in the day, and I always felt like I kind of had Mini Light. I never really got to experience the fizz that Mini owners talk about having with a Cooper S or a JCW Mini. So what I wanted was a fully tuned JCW, something that came out of the factory ready for the track and something I could fiddle with over the years and even tune up a little bit more. I had read all kinds of message board accounts of folks enjoying them on the track and saw what folks were doing to them, and something ultimately stopped me despite the fact that I love this car as much as I do. And that was the fact that it's front-wheel drive. It's not as if I'm some kind of crazy, awesome track driver and I'm a drift junkie and I'm going to be drifting a rear-wheel drive car around the track anytime soon. But the fact that the car was front-wheel drive and would be a bit of a departure from what I had been learning these last couple of years in terms of car handling, that stopped me a little bit. Despite the fact that I saw folks were putting limited slip differentials in them and doing things to mitigate the impact of front-wheel drive on the track driving experience, despite the fact they handle like great cars and probably more than suitable for a driver of my needs, it was a sticking point for me. So despite the fact that Mini was a great all-rounder, really economical, pretty much utilitarian on the road and a fun track car and had everything I wanted for the price I wanted to pay, ultimately, regretfully, I had to scratch it off my list. So that begs an obvious question, and it's a question that was asked. In fact, it was challenged from viewers like you and subscribers all over the world. I had a lot of folks asking me if I was going to get another SLK 350. Many folks even challenged me to do so and hoped I would. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate how much fandom there is for this car and for its big brother, the 55, the V8 version that Mercedes makes. So why didn't I go for one of those cars? Why didn't I stick with the SLK 350 and continue working on my non-obvious track car choice and make that car my own a second time? Well, there are a couple detractions that caused me not to go for a double dip on the SLK. And one was the fact that it being a convertible started to be an issue. There were tracks that were enforcing what we call the broomstick rule even more forcefully and more pointedly. And quite frankly, as low as I could sit in that car with my height about 6 feet and the fact that the roof on that car adds a little bit of thickness, being that it's a hardtop, with a helmet on, there was no way I was going to pass the broomstick test. It just didn't happen. So there were tracks that gave me some waivers on various track days, but I didn't want to continue to push my luck with that. And that was going to be an issue that was going to require a lot of engineering to fix, with replacing roll bars or lowering seats and putting it on rails. And those are all things that probably weren't practical to do. The other thing that stopped me was just the fact that I wanted something new. I wanted to try something different. And the SLK had been a fun alternative choice and a fun car to try to turn into a track toy, but it had limitations. And being that I had chosen it and I liked it sort of being a black sheep out there on the track, made it a fun challenge. But faced with the opportunity to choose again, I wanted to take the learnings that I had learned from owning the SLK and apply those to my next choice. So, again, regretfully, the SLK got scratched off my list. So after all that searching, what did I finally choose? Well, here she is. Just look at that beauty. No, right here. Not that one. This one. This is a 2015 BMW 228i. Now, it's not an M2. It's not even a 235. It's got a 4-cylinder engine with a turbocharger bolted onto it. And that's all connected to an automatic transmission. I know, I'll explain all these decisions and why I chose this car, very intentionally. With 240 turbocharged horses and 255 foot-pounds of torque, all running through BMW's fantastic Z8 gearbox, I've got a feeling the 228 will be a stellar platform for the track. Much more experienced track drivers than myself have talked about how balanced this car is, and that's a word that comes up a lot. And as I read about this vehicle and finally experienced driving it, I was pleasantly surprised. And I'm really excited about what this car can be for me in terms of an all-rounder, a great road car, a great track car, and a car that I can tune and play with. All the things that I wanted the SLK to be, and even more, as I mentioned previously, with the fact that the aftermarket for this car is pretty healthy. So I look forward to, in the next episode of this channel, exploring the specific reasons why I chose this car, this engine, this transmission. And as we get into track season in the new year, I will look forward to scheduling some track days and maybe even experiencing autocross for the first time. And I'll bring that to you as well, and look forward to sharing and experiencing how this car is balanced for all those things. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.